Welcome to Bible Unleashed. This is the story of how the gospel reached India through St. Thomas. Hope you enjoy it. Let's start.
In the years following the death and resurrection of Jesus, the apostles carried the message of the gospel far beyond the borders of Judea and Galilee. Some went north into Syria and Asia Minor. Others traveled west into the great cities of the Roman Empire. But according to one of the oldest and most carefully preserved Christian traditions in the world, one of the 12 went farther than almost any other. His name was Thomas, and the land he reached was India. This is the story of how the gospel first arrived on the Indian subcontinent through the Apostle Thomas, and of the signs, wonders, and miracles that ancient tradition says accompanied his mission. Thomas is remembered in the Gospels as the disciple who doubted. When the other apostles told him they had seen the risen Lord, he refused to believe. He said he would not accept the resurrection unless he could see the nail marks in Jesus' hands and place his hand into his side. A week later, Jesus appeared again. This time he turned directly to Thomas and invited him to touch the wounds. In that moment, doubt turned into worship. Thomas cried out, "My Lord and my God." That encounter changed him. After the coming of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, the apostles went out into the world. Early Christian tradition says Thomas was given a special mission to carry the gospel eastward. While others preached in the cities of the Mediterranean, Thomas traveled across vast distances, through Mesopotamia, through Persia, and along the ancient trade routes that connected the Roman world with the East, until he reached the shores of India. According to the tradition preserved by the St. Thomas Christians, the apostle arrived on the Malabar Coast in the year 52 AD. This region, in present-day Kerala, was already part of a busy international trade network. Roman ships came regularly seeking spices, especially black pepper. Jewish communities had settled there centuries earlier. It was into this active and diverse land that Thomas stepped ashore. Thomas first preached among the Jewish communities along the coast. But soon, the message spread further. He began proclaiming Christ to the local people, and several families of high status accepted the faith. These early converts became the foundation of one of the oldest continuous Christian communities in the world. Along with the preaching of the gospel, the ancient accounts speak of many miracles that followed Thomas. One of the most famous stories comes from the Acts of Thomas. A powerful king named Gundaphorus wanted a magnificent palace built for himself. He gave Thomas a large sum of money for the construction. Instead of building a palace of stone on earth, Thomas used the money to help the poor, the sick, and the suffering. When the king demanded to see his palace, Thomas told him, "I have built you a palace in heaven." The king was furious and had Thomas thrown into prison. Not long after, the king's brother died. When he was restored to life, he told the king that he had seen a glorious palace in the heavenly realm, prepared for him because of what Thomas had done. The king was shaken to his core. He released Thomas and eventually accepted the Christian faith, along with many in his court. Other traditions speak of more signs. The sick were healed when Thomas prayed. People tormented by evil spirits found freedom. In one account, a large and heavy log of timber that no one could move was shifted after Thomas prayed and made the sign of the cross over it. These miracles, according to the tradition, confirmed the message he preached and opened the hearts of many who listened. Thomas is said to have founded 7 churches along the Malabar coast. These communities became known as the Nazranis, or St. Thomas Christians. They developed their own strong identity, rooted in the apostolic faith they received from Thomas, yet shaped by the culture and language of India. For centuries, they preserved their liturgy, their customs, and their living memory of the apostle. But the story of Thomas did not end on the western coast. Later tradition says he traveled across southern India to the Coromandel coast, to the region of Mylapore, near present-day Chennai. There, he continued to preach. The accounts speak of further miracles, healings, deliverances, and signs that accompanied his words. Many believed, but opposition also grew. According to the ancient tradition, Thomas was finally martyred in Mylapore around the year 72 AD. While praying on a hill, he was pierced with a spear. The place of his martyrdom is still remembered and visited today. Even after his death, stories of miracles continued at the site of his tomb. The faithful believed that the same power that had worked through him in life continued to touch people who came in faith. The community Thomas left behind did not disappear. It continued to grow. When later, Christian travelers from the West reached India, they found believers who claimed their faith came directly from the Apostle Thomas. In the 6th century, the traveler Cosmas Indicopleustes wrote that there was a Christian church in India with its own bishop. The tradition of Thomas's mission was already known far beyond India. Over the centuries, the St. Thomas Christians faced many trials, changing kingdoms, isolation, and later the arrival of European powers. Yet they held on to their identity. They kept their ancient traditions and their deep conviction that their faith had been planted by one of the original 12 apostles of Jesus. Today, many people think Christianity first came to India with European missionaries in the 16th century. But long before the Portuguese arrived, a Christian community already existed on Indian soil, a community that traced its beginning to the 1st century, to the apostle who had once doubted and then carried the gospel across the world. The story of Thomas in India is a reminder that the Christian faith was never meant to stay in one place. From the beginning, it crossed borders, cultures, and seas. And according to the living memory of the Indian Church, one of the 12 walked the land of India, preached Christ, performed miracles, established churches, and finally gave his life there. Nearly 2,000 years later, his name is still remembered. The light he brought continues to shine in the communities that trace their faith back to the apostle who once said, "My Lord and my God." Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more stories like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.